Hey everyone, this is PC Tommy. I'm doing my second vlog here, and in this vlog I want to address the question of, is God knowable, and particularly how does this affect the world as we know it in terms of people's philosophies and the sciences and worldview, etc., in a very, very basic and very general way. So first of all, I want to look at this concept of, the question of God, whether or not he exists. Really, there's only three answers to that question. Either one, God is; two, God is not; or three, God may or may not be, but it's knowable. I wouldn't say that there's a fourth category of saying God may or may not be, but it's knowable, and the reason I would say that is because if it's knowable, then you should be able to determine that and end up in one of the first two categories of God is or God is not. So you're kind of, it's counterproductive, basically. So really it comes down to those three: God is not, or God may or may not be, but it's unknowable. In terms of the first category, I would suggest to you everybody who accepts the first category to some degree or another. Even those that claim to be atheists have to concede that there is a higher power which they have to adhere to, whether it be the physical laws of the universe or, for example, you couldn't walk off the edge of a cliff, flap your wings, and fly because of the laws of gravity. You as a human being are subject to some higher authority or power. Now, whether those are physical laws within nature or whether those are something that's created by a divine being or a combination of the both, the point is that we as individuals are not God. We don't have the ability to control and set down the laws of physics within the universe. If we had that ability, we would be able to solve the energy crisis, etc., because we'd be able to do things like violate the laws of thermodynamics. Energy can either be created nor destroyed, etc. So if we could do things like create energy and violate or manipulate the laws of physics, we certainly would have the power to be God. We as individuals don't. And we know that we're subject to these laws, therefore we recognize the fact that there is at some level a higher authority. Now, atheists really, when we talk about atheism, what we're talking about is they're denying that the God of the organized religious world and the concept of God as it's handed down by the major religions, etc. Really, they adhere to a belief system of existentialism, where they believe that God is actually the material world itself and the laws by which the world abide by, and those are the laws that they're subject to. And so in that respect, it's not so much that within atheism that they're denying the existence of God. It's just that they believe that as long as they're playing within these physical codes that are set up within the universe, they're okay. In other words, you can do things like flying, for example, doesn't violate the law of gravity. It works with the law of gravity because what you're actually doing is you're putting air pressure underneath the wings and the air molecules are pressing down the earth and you're creating flight. So you're not actually violating the physical law of gravity, you're just working with it in a different respect. And so that really, if you want to look at most of the arguments that the atheists have difficulty with, is that they have problems when religious ideas or religion violates these physical laws because, in my opinion, they're existentialists. They believe that the physical laws are supreme and absolute, and therefore any violation of these physical laws, like turning water into wine or parting the Red Sea, etc., that these things would violate their religious edicts, which is that the supreme, all-being, all-powerful, commanding, higher authority of the universe is the physical nature itself and the laws by which they abide by. This, in a sense, is a form of idolatry, and that is because they're taking, in the religious views of monotheists, that they're taking the created world and they're turning the created world into a form of God. In other words, the physical matter of the universe that was made by a higher power then becomes the higher power. And the laws by which the physical universe are governed then therefore becomes the laws of God, which are inviolate. Rather than the monotheistic viewpoint of most religious authorities, which believe that God himself is greater than the laws of the universe. He is supernatural, and therefore because he created the laws in the first place, he has the ability to violate them at will if he so chooses. Now, of course, to go this extra step for atheists is something that they're not willing to do because essentially they come to the conclusion that if you cannot determine things through the physical realm, it therefore is unknowable. And of course they reject the idea that a supernatural being could enter into the physical realm and reveal himself to the subjects in the physical realm, because they deny his existence in the first place. But even if he did, because they deny the methodology by which a supernatural being would have to do this, it's impossible for them to receive that information. So in a sense, atheists have made themselves blind to the possibility of a power higher than existentialism. The reason why they've made themselves blind to this is because they can only allow themselves to see things through the a spectrum of the physical laws of the universe, and things are only knowable via the sciences and the way that you can define them according to the physical laws. So therefore, if a higher being were to enter into the physical realm, a supernatural being, and reveal himself unto mankind through supernatural powers, because atheists reject that methodology for gaining knowledge, it would be impossible for them to receive information that way. So in a sense, they are blind to any aspect of knowledge that can come from a supernatural method. Of course, they just believe this is fairy tale, etc., etc. They lump it in with the tooth fairy and everything else. That's why they come up with things with the flying spaghetti monster and the pink unicorn and all this kind of stuff as a way of mocking the ability for what they see as crazy, Christians, etc., who believe that they actually have a connection with a higher being or a communication with a higher power that goes beyond the physical laws of the universe. And I'm not even suggesting that the physical laws of the universe don't necessarily point to God, because obviously if you look at Bible scriptures, it says things like the heavens declare it. Which really, if you think about it, I mean, look at what atheists are proposing through the natural science in terms of existentialism as the cause of everything that there is in the world. Essentially, everything in the universe, according to atheism and according to evolution and modern cosmology, etc., is all related from one singular source. I mean, you're related to stars, according to their theological, and I call it theology because in a way it is, but according to their mindset, you're related to stars and matter. I mean, the very molecules that were made were formed in stars, and everything, all creation, from you to a monkey to plant life to the primordial ooze that was, struck by lightning or something, to the development of the planets, to the development of stars and material and galaxies and etc., goes all the way back to the Big Bang, which is this point of singularity, where there's this primordial matter, and to be able to define what the state of the laws of physics and nature and everything else were prior to the Big Bang is almost, from a scientific perspective, unknowable. But whatever this singularity, this point of the Big Bang, before it happened, whatever the material it's made of, that's one heck of an egg to hatch all this stuff, if you think about it. I mean, look all around you. Look at concepts like just look at the galaxies, look at the stars, look at the functionality of everything around us. I mean, the eyeball, the DNA structures, the philosophical concepts like love, everything in the universe, all this incredible diversification, everything else came from this one point of singularity under their concept of singular material, if you will, because everything divided up into separate materials and laws and everything since then. So, I mean, within this singularity, point of singularity, was, according to their philosophy, was the foreknowledge of all the creation that would happen. This information was packed into this point of singularity, and when the Big Bang happened and exploded, it began to go on its course into all these different areas to create what you see today. Like I said, that's one heck of an egg to be able to hatch all this stuff. And to suggest that happens without some purpose behind it, without some design behind it, and they really don't like this concept of design. But science doesn't answer the design question. But for that to happen out of this point of singularity, and have everything that you see around you, and communication, intelligence, and all this kind of stuff, from this single substance, the point of singularity, millions and billions of years ago, to have it happen today, to me, that's the greatest fairy tale of all.